What's up, everybody? In this lesson, I'm going to review the target that states I can convert between decimals, fractions, and percents. What I'm looking at here is a fraction bar. It's a bar broken down into parts. If you look at it, it's broken down into fourths. One whole broken down into 4/4. If I add up each fourth, I would have a total of 4/4. So how many fourths are shaded? Well, 3/4 are shaded. 3/4 of this bar are shaded. Another way to look at it would be to say that what percentage of it is shaded? Well, 75% of it is shaded. And 75% comes from the fact that 3/4 is 0.75, which can be rewritten as a percent pretty easily using the trick or multiplying it by 100. To get 0.75 to equal 75%. So for every fraction, there is an equal decimal and percent. And that can be helpful in solving problems. Let's just go over the process of converting back and forth between fractions, decimals, and percents by completing this table. If I'm given the decimal 0.2 to start, I want to convert 0.2 to both a fraction and a percent. Let's start by converting it to a fraction. The easiest way for me to do it is to think about reading the decimal aloud. It's not 0.2. It's 2 in the tens place. So I would speak this decimal as 2/10. Therefore, I would be speaking the fraction. 2/10 or 1/5. Because 1/5 is 0.2. To convert a decimal to a percent means out of 100. I could think of this two ways. 2/10. If I want to convert 2/10 to be a number that's written out of 100, I could multiply the denominator by 10 to get 100, which means I would have to multiply the numerator by 10, which would give me 20. 20/100ths would be written as 20%. But I can just do that to the decimal. If I multiply the decimal by 100, the decimal point is going to shift 2 places to the right. A 0 is what goes in the swoop, and I rewrite it as 20. Only it's not 20 whole, it's 20%, or 20/100ths. Let's try that with 4/5. Convert 4/5 to a decimal. Then I can convert it to a percent. Well, you might have 4/5 memorized, or you might have to divide 4 by 5. If you divide 4 by 5, you'd add a decimal point, bring up the decimal point. 5 does not go into 4 at all, but it goes into 40 8 times. So it's 0.8. To convert 0.8 to a percent, I would multiply it by 100, which means moving the decimal point 2 places to the right. Fill in the swoop with a 0, and I now have 80. But that's a percent. So 4/5 is 80%. Okay, now if I need to work backwards, 17%. If I want to convert a percent, it's 17.0% back to a decimal. I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places back to the left, like I would do the opposite of multiplying by 100 and divide by 100. 17% is 0.17. Now working backwards again, if I think about saying this number aloud, this ends in the hundredths place. So if I were to speak this decimal, it would say 17/100ths. So 0.17, 0.17 is 17/100ths. Converting between fractions and decimals and percents comes in handy when you have to do something like ordering fractions, decimals, and percents. A common question is to put these numbers in order from least to greatest. The problem is they're all written in different forms, so if I wanted to put all these numbers on this number line, it would be tricky. An easy step to take is to convert them all to the same form, and then put them on the number line and think about which one's the smallest and which one's the largest and put them in order. So let's go ahead and convert each of these to a decimal. 1 4/5, we just went over what 4/5 is equal to. It's 0.8. So 1 4/5 is 1.8. 33%. To convert 33% back to a decimal, I have to move the decimal 2 places to the left. So 33% is 0.33. Negative 1.6 is already written as a decimal. 6/4 is an improper fraction. 4 goes into 6 one whole time, and there's 2/4 left. 2/4 can be reduced to 1 1/2, so 6/4 is 1 1/2. And last one is 70%. 70%, if I move the decimal back 2 places to the left, becomes 0.7. So if I'm going to plot all these numbers on the number line, starting with 1.8, I'm going to estimate. 1.8 is almost 2. 0.33 is between 0 and 1/2, and it's a little further than halfway, so I'll estimate it to be like right there. 0.33. Negative 1.6 is to the left of 0, between negative 1 1/2 and 2. 1 1/2, I can put that one right on its spot. 1 1/2. Oops, I just realized I didn't write that one as a decimal. That'd be 1.5. The 1 1/2 would be there, and 0.7 would be just past 1/2, so approximately right there. So if I were going to put these numbers in order from least to greatest, negative 1.6 goes first. That's less than the next smallest number, which is 33%. Which is less than 70%, which was 0.7 on my number line, which is less than 6/4, which was 1.5, which is less than 1 4/5. So there's all 5 numbers put in order from smallest to largest by converting them all to decimals and putting them all on a number line. Alright, if you got this worked out, you can click pause and try these 2 problems. When you're done, click play to check your work. Number 1, complete the table. You're given the fraction 6/10, convert it to a decimal and a percent. So on your paper, copy the table and fill it in, or write three numbers next to each other, fraction to decimal and a percent. On the second row, you're given 0.24 as a decimal. Convert it to a fraction and convert it to a percent, and so on. Number 2, try ordering these numbers from least to greatest. Remember the strategy to convert them all to decimals. Good luck. Alright, let's see how you did. 6/10 is a fraction, and the denominator is 10, so it's writing 6 in the tenths place. It's 0.6. 0.6, if I move the decimal 2 places to the right, becomes 60%. Second row down, 0.24. 0.24, the 4 is in the hundredths place, so it's 24 100ths. But 24 100ths can be reduced. 24 and 100 are both divisible by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6, and 100 divided by 4 is 25. So in lowest terms, it's 6/25. And 0.24, if I move the decimal point 2 places to the right, becomes 24%. 8% is kind of a tricky one. I put this one here on purpose because I wanted you to pay attention to what happens when you have a percent that's less than 10. 8%, 9%, 7%, 6%. It's like 8.0%. And if I move the decimal 2 places to the left, I have a swoop to fill in on the other side of the 8. The decimal is now in front of the 0, so 8% is 0.08. Kind of a tricky one, which would, if I were to speak 0.08 as a fraction, it would be, the 8 is in the hundredths place, so it would be 8 100ths. and both of those are divisible by 4, so I can reduce that to 2/25. How'd you do? Let's check out number 2. Order these numbers from least to greatest. Well, I want to put them all in the same form. I want to write them all as a decimal. 0.9 already is a decimal, that's a good thing. 3/4, 3/4 is 0.75. And 83%, if I move the decimal 2 places to the left, is 0.83. So if I thought about every one of these numbers as change, like cents, 3/4 would be 75 cents, it'd be the smallest. It's less than 0.83, 83 cents, so 83% would be the middle one. And 90 cents would be the greatest amount of cents, so 0.9 would be the largest one. So 83% is less than 0.9. So this would be the order from least to greatest.